The Nintendo Switch, a game console with which Nintendo has once again revolutionized gaming. It's been 4 years since its release, and it's taken the world by storm. So much that even individuals that are not into gaming are taking great interest into it. You may be asking, Ace Monkey, how do you know these non-gaming individuals are into the Switch? Well, despite its universal appeal, I've seen tons of social media posts from the quote-unquote cool kids from back in the day, seeing their racing in Mario Kart, playing Smash Bros, and checking out that cool new Zelda game. Now, I can easily fall into that, oh, they're not real gamers mindset, but honestly, I find that mentality annoying and tiresome. I'm actually happy that Nintendo games are reaching a whole new demographic and they're being introduced to great games. So with this wave of popularity that the Switch is currently riding, what does this mean for its future? Today I'm going to discuss how I believe that the Switch will be Nintendo's greatest console, and, well, of course, what everyone is speculating, the release of a potential Switch Pro. If you enjoyed this video, I'd appreciate it if you dropped a like, and if you want to further support the channel and keep up with all Ace Monkey content, make sure to subscribe. Today we're having a zero interest, zero down payment, no monthly payment to everyone that subscribes, so don't miss out. But I digress. Let's get started. Earlier this week, Nintendo dropped some numbers on how many units they've sold so far, which clocked in at 79.87 million units. That's a lot of Switches. With this 79.87 million units sold, it surpasses the number of 3DS sold, which stands at 75.94 million. But to me, this comparison is unimportant, because what we want to know is if the Switch will take on the Nintendo console king, the Wii. Now, overall sales of the Wii are at a whopping 101.63 million units over the course of 9 years. Those 9 years starting in 2007 when the Wii released, and 2015 being the last year that sales were reported. Now, it's hard to determine whether the Switch will be the new king of Nintendo consoles solely looking at their total sales. So comparing each fiscal year is a more accurate way to project whether the Switch will come out on top. Now, the data for each console's first fiscal year will not be taken into account, as it is not a fair comparison. The reason being? Well, the Wii's first fiscal year contains the months of November through March, which contains the number of units sold during the holidays. And the Switch's first fiscal year only contains what is sold in March. Needless to say, the initial results will not be a fair comparison. So to leave out any outliers, we're going to compare numbers starting with data that contains full fiscal years. I combined the information from both of these charts into this beautifully done chart created by my wonderful fiance. I kind of forgot how to use Excel and she's a genius at it. Thanks, babe. So for the first fiscal year, the Wii sold 18.61 million units, while the Switch sold 15.05 million. The second year, the Wii sold 25.95 million, while the Switch sold 16.96 million. Now the third year is where it gets interesting. The Wii sold 20.53 million units, while the Switch sold 21.04 million, surpassing the Wii for the first time in the amount of units sold per fiscal year. Now keep in mind, this year is also the year where the Switch Lite was introduced, so out of those 21.04 million sold, 6.2 million were Switch Lites. Now, does this somewhat give the Switch an advantage over the Wii in number of units sold? Yeah, it kind of does. But Nintendo does consider them both to be the same console, so that's why it makes their numbers look larger. That's business, baby. Anyways, the fourth year, the Wii sold 15.08 million units, while the Switch has sold 24.11 million, with 7.34 million of those being Switch Lites, vastly surpassing the numbers that the Wii had during its fourth year. Keep in mind, Nintendo's fiscal year ends in March, so the 24.11 million is still going to go up since it still hasn't reported the numbers from January through March being its fourth quarter. At this point, with the information we see on the chart, I think we can all see that the Switch is clearly on its way to become the highest selling Nintendo console of all time. How so? By the end of the fiscal year, being March 2021, it looks like it will surpass the amount of Wiis that Nintendo sold in its best year, being this one right here. Now, this upcoming year can go in two ways. This year will decide whether the trend we see keeps on going up, or if 2020 was a year in the Switch's lifetime where it peaked in sales. Regardless of the case, going by this data, this will be the year that the Switch dethrones the Wii as the highest selling Nintendo console. By the end of the year, a new king will be crowned, and with games like Breath of the Wild 2, Bayonetta 3, and Metroid Prime 4 still on the horizon, this console doesn't seem to be going anywhere. So now the next question comes into play. Where does that leave us with the Switch Pro? There are a lot of factors that I believe can be taken into consideration when talking about the possibility of the Switch Pro. like whether Nintendo would actually make a more powerful version of an already existing console. However, for this video, to keep it on theme, let's talk data. The Switch is still on the rise of sales, with the numbers this year potentially rising even further. The Switch is still selling lots and lots and lots of games. I mean, look at this. Mario Kart 8, a game that came out at launch. No, a game that came out on the Wii U was the highest selling game of this year. It's like the Switch and Mario Kart sell hand in hand, and Nintendo knows this. Looking at these numbers, I find it very hard to believe that if the Switch Pro is in the works, that it will come out anytime soon. It doesn't make financial sense to bring out an upgraded console that will compete with the Switch when it has been selling extremely well. Yes, they did bring out the Switch Lite, but it is seen as an exclusively portable version, so not exactly competing with the Switch. There was a slight decrease in sales of the regular Switch, but I feel this was a trade-off taken into account by Nintendo. However, if another variant / upgrade, or whatever you like to call it, were to be released, I believe it would only saturate the Switch market and further decrease the amount of regular Switches sold. With all this said, I am by no means a financial expert, or a marketing expert, or an expert on someone who sells video game consoles. I'm just a passionate Nintendo fan like yourself. However, in my opinion, I doubt a Switch Pro will come out anytime soon, because the Switch is on a hype train with no signs of stopping. Don't get me wrong, I wish they would announce some type of Switch Pro, or maybe even a Super Switch. I like the sound of that better. If a Super Switch were to be announced this week, I'd be the first in line to pre-order. I'd be on that ASAP. Just don't tell my fiance, please. But like I previously mentioned, it just doesn't make financial sense at the moment. But if you want my prediction as to when the Switch Pro would be released, I'd say somewhere around late 2023, which would be 5 to 6 years after the Switch's release, which also coincides when the Wii successor was released as well, being the Wii U. Those are just my thoughts, my guesses, my speculations based on the data we have seen. What do you guys think? Do you guys have some other info that I may have missed? Or maybe one of you guys have an uncle that works at Nintendo. I've heard there are plenty of those. Or better yet, do you think we will get a Switch Pro soon? I really want to know your guys' opinion on that one. I hope you guys enjoyed this new type of video. If you did, let me know, and maybe I'll dabble with more of these types of videos. Thank you all that have been supporting this channel. You guys are the best. I'm Ace Monkey. Have a great day, and thanks for watching.